Hey there. Welcome back to another peaceful evening together. Tonight, we begin a quiet journey through one of the Bible's most tender and meaningful stories, the life of Joseph. This is a story of dreams, betrayal, waiting, and ultimately, deep and healing forgiveness. But here, it unfolds slowly, like waves brushing a distant shore. And you're invited to simply listen, breathe, and rest. So, before we begin, let your body settle in. Let the blanket wrap around your shoulders, the pillow hold your head just right. Maybe take a deep breath. And as you exhale, let the day drift away. Let's begin. The wind moves softly through the grasslands of Canaan. Sheep bleat in the distance, and the sun stretches long shadows across gentle hills. Among the quiet trees stands a tent large, woven of goat hair and linen, and within it lives a man named Jacob. Jacob is old now. His beard is silver, and his hands carry the calluses of many years. He has 12 sons, each different, each carrying a different flame. But one shines a little differently. His name is Joseph. Joseph is 17. His eyes are bright, curious. He notices the way the clouds form patterns above the hills, and how the olive trees shimmer in the late afternoon light. He listens when people speak, and he listens too when no one speaks, hearing the spaces between words, the silence of God. His father loves him deeply, perhaps more than the others. And one day, to show that love, Jacob gives Joseph a gift, a robe, but not just any robe. It is a garment woven of many colors, brilliant reds, ocean blues, golden threads glinting like sunshine. When Joseph walks, the robe moves like flame. The brothers see it. They do not smile. Joseph wears the robe proudly, not as pride, but as joy. He is young, still full of wonder, still innocent of the weight of envy. He tells his brothers stories of his dreams. "I dreamed we were binding sheaves in the field," he says softly one morning, "and my sheaf stood upright, while yours gathered around and bowed to it." They stare at him. He continues, "I dreamed again. This time, the sun, the moon, and 11 stars were bowing down to me." The room grows still. Even Jacob raises his brows. "Shall your mother and I and your brothers bow to you?" But he doesn't scold him. He just ponders, quietly, holding the words like a stone in his hand, unsure what they mean. The brothers, however, grow colder. Their footsteps fall heavier, their words to him shorter. The robe shines brighter in their eyes, even when Joseph isn't wearing it. One day, Jacob sends Joseph to check on his brothers who are pasturing sheep near Shechem. The sun is high. The robe sways in the breeze. Joseph walks alone, carrying bread, water, and the quiet hope of peace. He walks through valleys, over hills, asking strangers along the way, "Have you seen my brothers?" At last, he finds them. They see him first, the robe giving him away from far off, and their hearts tighten. "Here comes the dreamer," one says. The words taste bitter. "Let's kill him," says another. "Throw him into a pit." "No," says Reuben, the eldest. "Let's not shed blood. Just put him in that empty cistern. He'll learn his place." And so, as Joseph approaches, smiling, they grab him, tear the robe from his shoulders, and cast him into the pit. It is dark, damp, echoing with silence. He calls out maybe once, maybe twice. No answer. Above, the brothers sit and eat bread. A caravan appears on the horizon. Camels sway beneath the weight of goods. Traders heading toward Egypt. Their bells clink softly in the wind. Judah watches them, then turns to the others. "What profit is there if we kill our brother?" Let's sell him instead." End of chapter 7. They agree. They pull Joseph from the pit, dust still clinging to his face. He does not fight. He is silent, like the earth after rain. The traders offer 20 silver coins. Joseph is handed over, the robe still crumpled on the ground. And just like that, he is gone. They return to Jacob with a lie. "We found his robe," they say, dipping it in goat's blood. Jacob holds the fabric like a wound. He weeps and refuses to be comforted. And now, we follow Joseph, not with footsteps loud or hurried, but with the slow breath of someone learning to wait. Let your own breath match the rhythm of the sand, and drift now to Egypt. Egypt is unlike anything Joseph has ever seen. The buildings rise high and wide, carved with symbols that seem to whisper stories from long ago. Palm trees sway gently by the river. The Nile flows calmly, like a sleeping serpent coiled through the land. Joseph arrives in chains, but not in fear. He watches, listens, takes everything in. He is sold to a man named Potiphar, captain of Pharaoh's guard. Potiphar is tall, composed, a man of many thoughts and few words. His house is large, his gardens full of citrus and silence. Joseph is assigned to simple tasks, sweeping courtyards, tending to animals, serving at quiet meals. But Potiphar begins to notice something. Where Joseph goes, things grow easier. The house feels lighter. The servants complain less. The storehouses fill on time. Joseph says little, but his presence speaks. His eyes are steady, his hands sure. He does not rush. He does not quarrel. He works with a calm heart and a thoughtful spirit. And so, over time, Potiphar places more in Joseph's hands. He oversees the fields, the accounts, the supplies, and the house prospers. Even the flowers bloom longer. Joseph is no longer a servant. He is a steward, trusted, respected. He walks the hallways with quiet authority. He sleeps beneath the stars with dreams no longer of sheaves or stars, but of peace. But peace can stir envy, even in quiet places. Potiphar's wife notices Joseph. Not just his appearance, though he is handsome and strong, but his stillness, his self-control, his calm refusal of attention. She speaks to him softly, but Joseph says no, again, and again, and again. One day, when the house is still, she reaches for him. He pulls away. She tears his cloak as he leaves, and with it, tears open a lie. When Potiphar returns, she accuses Joseph. And though something inside Potiphar hesitates something silent and uncertain, he cannot ignore the appearance of guilt. Joseph is cast into prison. No trial, no defense, just darkness again. But Joseph does not curse. He breathes and waits. The prison is dim, but not cruel. The walls are cold, but the silence is familiar, like a friend returned. Joseph is given the lowest tasks: cleaning, organizing, watching. But soon, the keeper of the prison notices the same thing Potiphar did. Where Joseph walks, peace follows. He listens. He encourages. He makes no demands. He rises early and sleeps late. And slowly, the prison becomes quieter, less afraid. The warden gives Joseph charge of other prisoners. A small trust, but real. And so Joseph, once a dreamer, now becomes a watcher of men's dreams. One morning, 2 new men are brought to the prison: Pharaoh's cupbearer and his baker. They were trusted men, close to power. But now, they sit in silence, their faces dark with worry. Joseph brings them water, food, a gentle word. They say little, until one night, they both dream. And in the morning, they are restless. Joseph asks them softly, "Why are you troubled?" They look up. His voice is kind. "We have had dreams," they say, but no one to explain them. Joseph smiles, just faintly. "Interpretation belongs to God. Tell me what you saw." The cupbearer speaks first. "In my dream," he says, "I saw a vine with 3 branches. It budded, blossomed, and bore grapes. I took the grapes and pressed them into Pharaoh's cup." Joseph listens carefully. He nods. "In 3 days," he says, "you will be restored. You will serve Pharaoh again." The cupbearer's eyes brighten. Joseph continues gently, "When that happens, remember me. Tell Pharaoh about me." The baker steps forward next. "In my dream," he says slowly, "there were 3 baskets on my head. In the top basket were pastries for Pharaoh, but birds came and ate them." Joseph listens. He breathes deeply, and then, tenderly, he speaks. "In 3 days, Pharaoh will lift your head, but not to restore. You will not survive." The baker lowers his gaze. Joseph places a hand on his shoulder, and the silence returns. 3 days later, it unfolds exactly as Joseph said. The cupbearer is restored. The baker is taken, and Joseph waits by the door. He waits for word, for freedom. But the cupbearer forgets. Joseph remains, not in despair, but in quiet hope. He waits as he always has, with dreams stitched softly into his breath. Let your breath settle once again. We're moving slowly now. The stones of prison have not broken Joseph. They've only quieted him. And soon, the silence will open like a door. The nights in Egypt are warm and still, and one night, Pharaoh cannot sleep. He dreams, strange dreams. In the first, he stands beside the river Nile. 7 cows rise from the river, sleek, fat, healthy. They graze peacefully by the reeds. But then, 7 other cows emerge thin, hollow-eyed, their ribs pressing against their skin. And the thin cows devour the fat ones, yet they remain just as empty. Pharaoh wakes, disturbed. He sleeps again, and dreams again. This time, he sees a stalk with 7 full ears of grain, golden, rich, shining in the sun. Then, 7 thin ears appear scorched by the wind, and they swallow the full ones. Pharaoh awakens. His heart is unsettled. He calls for magicians, wise men, and scribes. But no one can explain the dreams. No one, until the cupbearer remembers. The cupbearer bows low before Pharaoh. "There is a man," he says, "a Hebrew. From the prison, he interpreted dreams, and they came true." Pharaoh nods. "Bring him." Joseph is summoned. He washes. He shaves. He's given clean linen. The prison is behind him now, though its quiet still lives in his bones. He stands before Pharaoh, not with fear, but with peace. Pharaoh speaks. "I have dreamed, and no one can explain it, but I hear you can." Joseph answers softly, "It is not in me, but God will give Pharaoh an answer of peace." Pharaoh tells the dreams. Joseph listens. Joseph lifts his eyes. "The dreams are one," he says. "God is showing Pharaoh what is to come. There will be 7 years of abundance. Grain will overflow. Vines will be heavy, fields full. But after that, 7 years of famine will follow." The room grows still. The famine will be severe. It will consume the memory of the good years. But if Pharaoh stores food now, during the abundance, Egypt will survive the famine. Pharaoh leans forward. "Whom shall we trust with this task?" He looks around and then back at Joseph. Can we find such a man as this one? In whom is the Spirit of God? In a single breath, Joseph's life changes. Pharaoh removes his signet ring and places it on Joseph's hand. He dresses him in fine linen robes, the softest in all the land. A gold chain is laid around his neck. A chariot is prepared, second only to Pharaoh's. He rides through the streets. People bow, not in fear but in wonder. Joseph is 30 years old now. He speaks Egyptian with ease. He wears the robes of authority. But inside, he still walks with the quiet trust of the boy who once dreamed in fields. He begins to prepare. Egypt blooms. The Nile floods in rhythm. The sun warms the earth just right. Farmers rejoice. Joseph oversees it all. He builds storehouses in every city, tall, cool, strong. Grain is measured, recorded, stored. Fields overflow. Vines droop with clusters. People sing as they harvest. Joseph moves among them calm, focused, always watching the skies. In these years, he marries. His wife is Asenath, daughter of a priest. She is kind, thoughtful, gentle in her words. Together, they have 2 sons. The first, Joseph names Manasseh. God has made me forget my sorrow. The second, Ephraim. God has made me fruitful in the land of my affliction. And still the grain is stored. And still the clock turns. Then the skies change. The rains stop. The river lowers. Fields grow brittle. The earth cracks beneath the farmer's feet. People turn their eyes to Pharaoh. Pharaoh turns his eyes to Joseph. The storehouse is open. Bread is given. Egypt does not starve. From far-off lands, people begin to arrive. Hungry faces, dusty feet. They bring silver, livestock, labor, and they receive grain. And among them, travelers from Canaan, 10 brothers. They bow before Joseph just as the dream once showed, but they do not know him. He is older. His voice is different. His clothes unfamiliar. But Joseph remembers. You've journeyed far now. The famine has come. The dreams have spoken. And Joseph, once a boy in a pit, now stands as Egypt's provider. But his story is not finished, because the wound in his heart still waits for healing. Let's continue. Joseph watches as the 10 men approach dusty from travel. Eyes low, they bow before him. He knows them instantly, but they do not know him. Years have passed. He speaks to them through an interpreter. His expression is unreadable. His voice is low. Where do you come from? He asks. From Canaan, they say, to buy food. We are sons of one man, honest men. We are 12, but one is no more, and the youngest is at home with our father. Joseph listens. Honest men? He remembers the pit, but also the dreams. He decides not to reveal himself. Not yet. Instead, he speaks coldly. You are spies. They protest. No, my lord, we are brothers. We mean no harm. He imprisons them for 3 days. Then, on the 3rd day, he releases all but one. Simeon will stay, he says. The rest may return home, but do not come back unless you bring your youngest brother. In Canaan, the brothers arrive with grain and a heavy story. Jacob, old and weathered, listens. Simeon is held? And you want to take Benjamin? He shakes his head slowly. I have already lost Joseph. Now Simeon is gone. And you would take Benjamin? If he is lost, I will die. He refuses. Days pass. The grain begins to run out. The brothers speak again. We cannot return without Benjamin. The man was clear. Judah, the one who once suggested selling Joseph, steps forward. I will take responsibility. If I do not bring him back, let the blame fall on me forever. Jacob looks at him for a long time. Then he nods. May El Shaddai grant you mercy before the man. He gives them gifts, silver, and Benjamin, and watches them walk away. Joseph sees them from a distance this time. 11. His heart stirs. When he sees Benjamin, the youngest, the only other son of Rachel, he turns away quickly. He weeps in a side room, alone. Then, composing himself, he returns. He arranges a feast for them. They are seated in order of age, from Reuben to Benjamin. The brothers glance at each other in confusion. How did he know? Then Benjamin's portion arrives 5 times larger than the others. Joseph watches. Do they envy him? Do they grumble? They do not. They eat together, drinking freely. Laughter returns, soft, like it once was in childhood. Joseph says little, but inside, something begins to soften. Joseph must know for sure. He sends them off with grain, silver, and joy. But he also hides his silver cup in Benjamin's sack. Shortly after they depart, he sends a steward to catch them. The brothers are confused, shocked. They open their bags, and there it is, the cup in Benjamin's sack. They return, clothes torn in grief. Back in Joseph's presence, they fall to their knees. Judah steps forward. Take me instead, he says. Let the boy go. If he does not return, our father will die. His life is bound to the boys. Joseph listens. He hears something new, something true. Not jealousy, but sacrifice. Not fear, but love. He cannot hold the disguise any longer. Leave us, Joseph says to the Egyptians. Only the brothers remain. Then, in their own language, he speaks. I am Joseph. The words fall like thunder in a quiet valley. The brothers freeze. I am Joseph, he says again. Is my father still alive? They cannot answer. Terror fills their eyes. But Joseph steps forward. Do not be afraid, he says. You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to save many lives. And he begins to weep. Loudly, he embraces Benjamin. Then each brother, even Simeon, even Judah. Tears fall freely. Not just sorrow, but release. Not just forgiveness, but healing. The past, long buried, is now embraced. News reaches Pharaoh. Joseph's brothers have come. Pharaoh is pleased. He instructs Joseph to send wagons, gifts, all they need. Bring your father. Let him live in the best of Egypt. Joseph loads the camels, fills the wagons, gives clothing, silver, food, provisions. To Benjamin, he gives extra, again. And then he watches as the brothers return home this time, with joy. He whispers, Tell my father I am alive, and waits. Joseph has revealed himself. Tears have been shed, forgiveness has been given. And now, the story turns homeward, toward a reunion long awaited, and a peace hard earned. Let's return to the hills of Canaan, one last time. In the fading light of Canaan, Jacob sits quietly by his tent, staring across the dry land. He is older now, his steps slower, his memory sometimes drifting. But when the dust rises in the distance, and the caravan of camels and wagons crests the hill, something stirs in him. The sons return, all of them, and they speak words he never dreamed he'd hear. Joseph is alive. He is ruler of all Egypt. Jacob does not speak at first. He watches their faces. He sees no trick, no jest. He rises slowly, walks to the edge of the path, and sees the wagons, the gifts, the bounty of a foreign land. "It is enough," he whispers. "Joseph, my son, is alive. I will go and see him before I die." Jacob gathers all his people, his sons, their wives, the children, the herds, the tents. They travel south, through the dry hills and desert paths. At night, they sleep beneath stars Jacob has known since youth. And when they reach Beersheba, he pauses. He offers a sacrifice, a quiet offering of thanks and fear and hope, all woven together. In the night, God speaks to him. "Jacob, do not be afraid. Go down to Egypt. I will go with you, and Joseph shall close your eyes." And so Jacob continues. He rides slowly, swaying gently in the wagon, his old bones aching, but his heart alight with a warmth he thought long gone. Joseph rides out to meet them. He leaves the chariot, walks the last distance on foot. When he sees the wagon, he runs. And Jacob, once Israel the wrestler, the wanderer, steps down. They embrace. No words, just arms wrapped tightly and tears falling. Joseph weeps on his father's neck, not for minutes, but for a long, long time. And Jacob, with eyes full of both past and present, says softly, "Now I can die, for I have seen your face again." They sit together that night, and the desert is quiet. Pharaoh welcomes them. "Let them dwell in the best of the land," he says. "Let them have Goshen." Goshen is fertile and calm green fields, wide rivers, soft hills. The family settles their shepherds among the reeds, their tents rising once more. Joseph continues to serve Pharaoh faithfully, wisely. But in the evenings, he walks to Goshen. He sits with his father. He holds his sons. He listens to the rustle of leaves in the breeze and remembers when he once did the same as a boy. The land rests. The family heals. 17 years pass. Jacob, now 147, feels the end near. He calls for Joseph. "Promise me," he says, "that you will not bury me here in Egypt. Take me home, to Canaan, to where Abraham and Isaac lie." Joseph swears it. Then Jacob calls for Joseph's sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. He places his hands on their heads, crossing them right hand on the younger. Joseph gently tries to correct him, but Jacob smiles. "I know, my son. The younger shall also be great." 1. He blesses them. Then, one by one, he blesses all his sons, each with words shaped like wind-carved stones, some soft, some hard, all true. And when he finishes, he draws his feet into the bed and breathes one last time. Joseph mourns. He falls upon his father's face. He kisses him gently. Then he commands the physicians to embalm him, a process of 40 days. The Egyptians mourn for 70 more. Then Joseph speaks to Pharaoh. "Let me go and bury my father in the cave of Machpelah, where he asked to rest." Pharaoh agrees, and a great procession formed, chariots, horsemen, elders of Egypt, Joseph and his brothers, all moving north. They arrive in Canaan. There, with solemn hearts, they bury Jacob in the field Abraham bought, and the earth closes once more around the bones of a promise. The land of Egypt is quiet once more. Years have passed. The famine is long gone, and Joseph, once a dreamer in chains, now walks with the gentle steps of old age. His story is nearly done, but peace still blooms. After Jacob is buried and the family returns to Egypt, Joseph continues to care for his people. He is older now, wiser still. But after some time has passed, his brothers come to him again, heads bowed low. "Our father commanded us," they say, "to ask your forgiveness for what we did to you." They fall to their knees. "We are your servants," they say. Joseph looks at them. He sees not the men who once threw him into a pit, but the ones who brought back Benjamin, who offered themselves for one another, who wept and feasted and grew. He lifts them gently. "Do not fear," he says. "Am I in the place of God? You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good, to bring life to many people, as you see today." And he speaks again. "Softer now. I will nourish you and your children." And he does. For all his days, Joseph continues to serve Pharaoh, quietly, humbly. He walks among the storehouses, now full of grain once more. He tends to the records, the people, the lands of Goshen. But he no longer carries the weight of proving himself. He is no longer the dreamer misunderstood. He is the dream fulfilled. His sons grow. He tells them stories of Canaan, of Rachel, of the robe his father once gave him. Sometimes he visits the Nile at sunset and remembers the river that once separated him from home. But Egypt has become home, and peace is his companion. Joseph lives to see 3 generations of children. Great-grandchildren sit on his lap, chasing pebbles and fireflies. And when his eyes begin to dim, he calls for his family. "I am dying," he says, "but God will surely visit you. He will bring you up from this land to the land he promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." He takes their hands in his. "Swear to me, when you go, you will carry my bones with you." They promise, and Joseph breathes gently and rests. They embalm him and place him in a coffin. He is not buried. He waits, not as a ghost, but as a promise. And many years later, when Moses leads the people out of Egypt, they take the bones of Joseph with them. The dreamer who was betrayed, who forgave, who saved, who slept in hope. And now, dear listener, you followed Joseph from the hills of Canaan, to the pit, the palace, the prison, the feast, and finally, to a place of peace. Let your heart settle. Let your breathing slow. There is no more to fix tonight. No story left unfinished. Only quiet now. The same God who watched Joseph walk alone, who brought him to safety, who turned sorrow into saving, watches over you too. You don't need to be perfect to be part of the story. You only need to rest. Breathe in, breathe out. Let the soft weight of sleep fold over you. Dream of open fields, of cool rivers, of starlit skies and gentle robes woven in peace. Dream like Joseph once did, and let morning come slowly. Good night, dear friend. Sleep well. You're doing so well. Still breathing slowly. Still lying still. Now, let's stay with Joseph a little longer. Not in moments of drama, but in the quiet chapters few talk about. This is the part of his life when everything is calm, and calm is enough. The land of Goshen is quiet. In the early morning, before the flocks wake, Joseph steps outside his tent. The grass is still damp with dew, and the sky is painted with the faintest blush of lavender and blue. He walks alone, slowly, hands behind his back. The goats stir. Birds sing their first sleepy notes. The Nile hums far off, like an old friend whispering from afar. Joseph closes his eyes. He remembers the robe his father gave him, the dreams he once spoke aloud, the fear in the pit, the silence in the cell. Now, all of that feels distant, not forgotten, but softened. He's older now, but not bitter, just quiet. Inside his tent, Joseph keeps a small wooden bench carved from a fig tree many years ago. He often sits there after sunrise, unrolling scrolls, reports from Pharaoh's court, letters from nearby lands, notes about grain and flood patterns. He dips his stylus slowly, writes slowly, reads slowly. Everything now moves at the pace of wisdom, no rush, no race. Sometimes Ephraim or Manasseh sits beside him. They ask questions, they fidget, they listen. Joseph answers gently. He does not lecture. He tells stories about Rachel, about Canaan, about how the stars once bowed to him, and how, now, he bows to stillness. One day, Joseph walks to a field where the wheat has failed. The season was too dry. The soil gave all it could, but it was not enough. He kneels in the dirt and sifts the earth through his fingers. He does not frown. He does not scold. He just watches the dust dance in the light. Even this, he whispers, has its season. Later that night, he will tell his sons, not every field must feed you. Some teach you instead. And they'll nod, unsure what it means. But they'll remember. One day, that night, Joseph dreams again. He stands in the old valley where he tended sheep. The stars are above him, so many, so near. He sees the sheaves again. They rise around him. But this time, they do not bow. They form a circle, equal, connected, still. The sun and moon are there too, but they do not move. They simply shine. Joseph stands in the center, no crown, no robe, no name spoken aloud. Just himself. The boy, the man, the servant, the prince, all the same. And then the stars hum not words, but peace. He wakes, smiling. Occasionally, strangers visit Goshen. A merchant from the south, a traveler from the east. They ask for Joseph. They bow too low, speak too loudly. He waves them off gently. Sit, tell me your story. They speak of hunger, of hard roads, of family left behind. Joseph listens, not to respond, just to hold space. Sometimes he gives them grain, sometimes gold, sometimes only a word. Keep going, he says. And they do. They leave Goshen lighter, and Joseph returns to his fig bench, his scrolls, his silence. Peace, Joseph has learned, is like bread. It must be prepared daily, kneaded, watched over, given space to rise, then shared with others. He no longer needs dreams to know what matters. He sees it in the face of his grandchild sleeping, in the way his wife hums softly as she pours water into the basin, in the way his goats nudge him gently when he walks past. Peace, like bread, is simple, but never small. One evening, as the sun sinks low and paints the Nile in golden streaks, Joseph walks to the water. He removes his sandals, feels the mud between his toes. The breeze wraps around him, warm and soft. He sits on a stone and watches the river move. Slow, sure, endlessly forward. Like life, like grace, like forgiveness. He does not speak, but if he did, perhaps he'd say this: I was a boy once, loved too much, and hated for it. I dreamed too loud and fell too far, but I waited, and he never forgot me, even when I thought he had. Joseph's days are long, but never rushed. His world is quiet, but never empty. And in the golden stretch of his final years, he lives like a man who has nothing to prove, only peace to protect. Let's drift with him into this final evening of the heart. Today, no one visits. No traders. No messages from Pharaoh. No livestock lost or grain to count. Joseph walks the edges of the garden. He bends down to pick a fig, ripe, sweet, warm from the sun. He sits on a low stone and eats slowly. He watches a single ant carry a crumb. He smiles. Sometimes, the best days are the ones where nothing happens. He whispers, almost to himself, God is not always in the fire. Sometimes, he is in the whisper. At night, his wife hums as she folds cloth. It's the same melody she sang when the boys were small. Joseph leans against the doorway and listens. He doesn't join in. He doesn't need to. Some songs belong to silence. After the lamp is snuffed and the stars peek through the thatch, Joseph lies awake, not restless, just thinking. The melody still hums in his chest. And for a moment, he's back in his father's tent, listening to Rachel laugh as she stirs the pot. Memory is a gentle thing when held with care. One morning, Joseph walks with Ephraim through the pasture. A calf has wandered off again. The boy groans. Why doesn't he stay with the others? Joseph kneels, places a hand on the young one's back. Sometimes, he says, what wanders most often becomes the strongest, because it learns the way home again and again. The boy doesn't quite understand, but he remembers. And one day, when he himself is old, he will say the same thing to a grandson of his own. And that is how peace travels through time. Joseph sits under a fig tree, writing. The papyrus is nearly full. Names, numbers, harvests, rations. He pauses, dips the brush, then writes something different. Mercy is not weakness. It is the strength to see another's wound without measuring your own. He leans back. That line, it is not from a scroll. It came from the pit, from the prison, from Judah's tears, from Benjamin's silence, from the moment he forgave before they even asked. He blows gently on the ink to dry it, then sets the scroll aside. That's enough for today. One evening, a traveler comes, a young woman with her son. They are poor. The boy is hungry. She asks for work. Joseph gives her bread instead. No work tonight, he says, only rest. They sit by the fire. He asks no questions about her past. She offers no story, only thanks. Before she leaves, Joseph gives her a blanket his mother wove many years ago. He watches as she disappears into the twilight and says softly, if even one life rests easier because of mine, then I have lived enough. Joseph wakes one morning to stiffness in his knees. The bones are slower now, the breath shorter. He takes a staff when he walks, not as weakness, but as rhythm. He walks slower, yes, but he sees more. The cracks in the walls, the shape of the clouds, the way the breeze turns the leaves on the fig tree's underside before it rains. Every step is a prayer now. Every blink is a blessing. He does not fear the shadow of old age, because peace has no need of speed. One last time, Joseph sits alone by the fire. The coals crackle softly. The stars blink overhead. He closes his eyes and listens to the sound of wind in the reeds, to the memory of wheels turning toward Egypt, to his father's voice, to the quiet laughter of children now grown. He smiles. He thinks to himself, I was once a boy who dreamed, then a man who waited. Now I am only grateful. He opens his eyes. The fire glows warmly. He adds no more wood. Let it burn down. Let the night begin. Now we are here. The fire has gone low. The story has grown quiet. The robe has been folded. The brothers forgiven. The bread broken and shared. And Joseph rests in peace. But before we end, stay with me a little longer. Not to rush, but to drift. To float in the calm after the story. In the end, Joseph has no throne, no chariot, no robe, only a body aged by time, and a heart smoothed by grace. He does not cling to what he built. He does not grasp what he owned. He simply remembers the dreams, the dry pit, the scent of Pharaoh's halls, the quiet blessing of a reunited father, and now, the even quieter joy of doing nothing at all. He sits each day and watches the shadows move, not with sadness, but with sacred attention, because time itself is a gift. There comes a morning when Joseph does not rise. He lies still on his cot, wrapped in linen, his staff leaning beside him. His breath is light. He hears the river, the goats, the birds, his wife's voice, distant, humming an old song. And then he hears something deeper, a sound not of earth, but of home, a voice without words, a calling without pressure. And so, he lets go, not as one falling, but as one floats, like wheat into the wind. His family mourns. They place him in a coffin not under the earth, but ready, because he had asked, "When you leave this land, take me with you." And they promise. And they do. Years later, generations later, when the children of Israel walk out of Egypt under Moses' hand, they carry him, not as a relic, but as a remembrance. The dreamer who saved, the slave who forgave, the man who lived gently and slept peacefully. Now, it's your turn. Sleep, dear listener. Let go. The story is over, but peace is just beginning. Let the voice of Joseph echo like water on stone. Soft, slow, kind. You do not need to fix anything now. You do not need to carry it all tonight. Rest like Joseph. Trust like Joseph. Wait like Joseph. And one day, wake like Joseph into something beautiful. Shah. You've come a long way tonight. You walked alongside Joseph through every trial, every dream, every moment of waiting, until he found peace. Now, let your own soul drift into that same peace. Let's stay here a while longer, not in the story's plot, but in its stillness. There's no hurry, just quiet now. Let the story settle like soft dust over the fields of memory. Let your breath match the rhythm of rest slow, deep, and easy. Joseph never saw all the steps ahead. He only took one at a time. Even in the pit, he didn't know he'd reach the palace. Even in the prison, he didn't know he'd become a provider for nations. Even in his weeping, he didn't know how sweet reunion would feel. And yet, he trusted. Quietly, patiently. Perhaps you're in a place like that, unsure of what's next, wondering what your dream means, feeling forgotten. But like Joseph, your story is not done. Not every moment is meant to be loud. Some of the most sacred seasons are the quiet ones. Like this one, right now. This breath, this silence. Maybe tonight, you've carried too much. A worry, a memory, a name, a regret. But now, you can lay it down. Not forever, just for now. Because rest is not an escape, it's trust. And when Joseph rested in prison, he wasn't giving up, he was gathering strength. So now, let your muscles soften. Let your hands unclench. Let your thoughts float, like leaves on a quiet stream. The story is holding you. The night is blessing you. The stillness is enough. Picture yourself walking through Egypt at dawn. The sand is cool beneath your feet. Palm trees sway above. The air smells of spice and river water. You pass by storehouses not of grain now, but of memories, kindnesses, moments of mercy. You walk by the Nile, its surface still, reflecting a sky just beginning to blush with morning. And there, ahead, sits Joseph. Older, wiser, at peace. He sees you. He smiles, not as a stranger, but as someone who understands waiting. He nods and turns his gaze back toward the river. You sit beside him and say nothing, because here, silence is enough. Now, return to your breath. Inhale, slowly. Exhale, even slower. Let the day fall away. Like Joseph's cloak left in Potiphar's house. Let the accusations go. Let the silence of the prison pass. Let the misunderstandings drift out with the tide. Keep only the peace. Keep only the quiet. And know you too are part of a story that will one day make sense. May your rest be deep. May your thoughts be light. May your dreams be gentle. And may your heart trust what it cannot yet see. Like Joseph did, like you can now. There is nothing more to do, no questions to answer, no burdens to solve, only stillness now. The story has ended, but the peace continues. With each breath, each blink of a star, each soft rise of your chest, you are safe here. You are loved here. You are allowed to rest here. So sleep now, sweet soul. And if you dream, may it be of a robe made of many colors, a reunion after many years, and a quiet whisper in the night that says, "You are not forgotten." Thank you for joining me on this quiet journey through the life of Joseph. If this story brought you peace, comfort, or helped you rest tonight, feel free to leave a gentle comment below. I'd love to know where you're listening from. You can support the channel by liking this video or subscribing for more calm, meaningful stories to help you wind down. And until next time, may your dreams be gentle, your sleep be deep, and your heart finds rest. Good night, and God bless you.